This is exactly how I turn strangers into high-paying customers or clients, right? Essentially, strangers that don't even know me, and now they're paying me thousands, okay? And I'm giving this exact blueprint away for free, okay? So essentially, what you need to do, instead of just learning it, take action and actually implement it into your business, right? It's as simple as that. But I'm gonna cover this whole exact blueprint for you so you can easily understand it and, of course, implement it into your business. And, just looking at this, right? A payment landed 2 days ago, 3.6K. A payment also landed 6 days ago with 3K. Another payment landed 1.9K, right? 3.6, 3K, 34 booked sales calls in a week, right? And I want you guys to copy the exact same strategy so you can easily land results just like this. Simple as. Essentially, I want you to understand 4 locations of traffic, right? Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, right? And why it works, right? Because it's number one, structured correctly. And it also builds that know, like, and trust factor between you and the stranger. Okay, the reason why is, let's say, for example, Instagram in this context, okay? Would you rather trust a scammy Instagram page that has no profile picture, they don't post themselves, they only post about business, right? They only just post like faceless content about business. Would you rather trust that? Or would you rather trust a page like this, which is, of course, got the verification tick? They've got a clean profile picture. They've got a clean first impression on their Instagram, right? A detailed bio, story highlights. Would you rather trust that or the first example I put, which is a scammy Instagram agency page, which just hides their face, posts content that doesn't even provide good value? You know what I mean? And another one, LinkedIn, providing a bunch of free value, correctly structured page. YouTube, long form assets, right? And of course, TikTok, short form assets, and basically lifestyle as well. So whatever I post on TikTok, I also post on Instagram Reels as well, just so it attracts a larger audience. And that's essentially why it works, right? And essentially after that, you want to then create a bunch of short form content. For example, value reels, short form content assets, maybe in a live to show off your personality and your lifestyle. Okay, or you can just be super organic and just post very raw content by, getting your phone out and just recording from like this type of angle, like a FaceTime method, as people call it, right? Because it's organic and it's raw. It's what people like. So once you get them short form content assets done, and of course, all of these short form content, different strategies, you then post them on Instagram Reels and TikTok, and you can potentially try and post it on LinkedIn, but they mainly allow like text and photos as value, right? I'm not really too sure if they provide videos, but you can easily link your Instagram and your TikTok and even your YouTube, the videos into the LinkedIn post that you create, okay? Essentially, once your short form content is in place, then you want to also have your long form content in place as well. For example, long form assets, evergreen assets, top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel content. Okay. So essentially, once you got all your personal branding set up, laid out correctly, structured correctly, okay, and you're posting short form content, long form content, that then links back to building a know, like, and trust factor between you and that audience. And that's essentially what you want to create, is like the base foundation of everything. Because then after that, anyone who is like interacting with your content is automatically classed as a lead in a way. Okay, then you essentially get your appointment cell. Okay, and this appointment cell is going to be following you along with this process. For example, your appointment cell will be doing the 10 touch point method on any lead, right? Liking their posts, being interactive on their comments, following them back, liking their stories, sharing their posts possibly, talking to them in the DMs, sending them YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn content, and of course, once again, following each other. Okay, once these 10 touch points are aligned with the appointment set and the lead, that's going to build a lot of trust between you and them, okay? And then, of course, any lead that opts in or is actually like interacting with you, you will follow them and add them to your close friends story. Of course, after them 10 touch points are done, because you want to make sure that the lead is actually following you so they can view your story constantly. Okay. That's why after these 10 touch points are done after like a decent amount of time, and if the prospect follows you back, you then add them to your close friends story and you post niche related stories on your close friend. Okay. After them 10 touch points are done, you want to basically give out a bunch of free value and CTAs, for example, stories and DMs, right? For example, this also builds a know, like, and trust factor. And essentially, you want to also create resources. So this is what you do on your end. You want to create resources which are obviously aligned with your niche's pain points. Okay, and you want to send them that piece of value as a nurturing technique, which is essentially no-brainer because no one will say no to multiple evergreen assets for free. Okay, for example, automated client acquisition blueprint, inbound content production strategy, inbound content funnel, 7-figure personal branding strategy, mid and high ticket sales ritual framework and breakdown, fast track to high ticket clients masterclass, ICP lead qualification system, and why 80% of agency owners, coaches, and consultants struggle to get leads and how to fix it. Giving all of this value out for free, this is obviously an example on my end. Giving out all of this for free is a no-brainer, right? Why would anyone say no to it? And it's also, once again, linking back, a very good nurturing technique, okay? Especially if your appointment setter sends out this asset or you put it on your story sequence or even in your nurturing stories, right? People are going to opt into it, which warms up the lead even more because if they only interact with your posts, okay, that's not really classed as a warm lead on the scale. Once they start opting in to your stories or your content, that's when they rank up in that scale of how warm the prospect actually is. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. You have to post a bunch of short form and long form content assets, okay, because it nurtures and expands audiences. And essentially, once again, I'm going to post short form on TikTok and Instagram, and of course, long form on YouTube, and of course, LinkedIn. You can create posts like this, right? Just text value, for example, or you can also link your YouTube videos to it. Okay, once you essentially got all of that in place, you know, especially when you're growing that personal brand, it increases conversions a lot more because you've already got that credibility status and that figure of authority positioning within the market, right? So it'll of course increase opt-ins and conversions. So you want to make sure you lay out your personal brand correctly. Kind of what I said before. Make sure you have an easy to read name. Your first and last name should be simple, right? Get the verification tick. Have a clean profile picture, a structured bio explaining who you're the founder of, right? Exactly what you do and how you can help. And of course, a CTA bio, okay? And a link in your bio as well. So people can, of course, opt into things, view your YouTube, etc. Right? Make sure you also have story highlights, for example, results, lifestyle, value, etc. And make sure you have at least 9 different posts on your profile grid because your first impression is key. People usually have about 3-second attention span when they actually click onto your Instagram page. So you want to essentially pin your 3 best posts because that's what they're going to see first. Okay, kind of what I've done here. These are my 3 most aesthetic posts. So when someone clicks onto my page, they see this straight away. Okay. So essentially when all that is done in place, right, and your appointment setter is doing the 10 touch points, constantly talking with them in the DMs as well, trying to get them to book a call, keep nurturing them. And on your end, when you're posting story sequences, when you're nurturing people in your close friends, right, when you're giving out, a bunch of assets like this for free, people are going to start to trust you more. Okay, they're going to want to learn more about this because since you've given out all this info for free, people might actually want to learn more. Okay, and once again, everything here that I'm saying links back to the know, like, and trust factor that you're building. That's why this whole strategy works, and that is exactly why I'm able to achieve results like this on a consistent basis. Okay, and you can constantly get all this in place, but then you need a content production method, which is exactly what I'm going to show here. Okay, how to build an audience that knows, likes, and essentially trusts you. Step 1, build a personal brand. Step 2, post content. Step 3, essentially become the expert, right? Within step 1, this is how you're going to get to 30k followers. Easy. Okay, create a personal brand on TikTok and Instagram. Essentially, you want to show yourself, your lifestyle, and your mindset, and of course, post a bunch of free value. Okay, essentially, this is how you want to make good content, right? The only things that really matter is audio quality, your script or your framework that you're following, and the lighting. Okay, for example, 80% of successful content mainly comes from very good lighting. You see, my background right now, it's got good lighting for a reason, of course, because if I was in the complete darkness, like, it wouldn't really be as nice. Do you know what I mean? Make sure your lighting is perfect. Okay, and of course, you're speaking. You want to use tons of body language. You want to enhance your speaking and your tonality, of course. Okay, these 4 points are what really matters to making good content. Then step 2, once you do these, essentially you want to find out your own content style, okay? So TikTok native, you can either post a regular TikTok video with no editing. Once again, use the organic FaceTime method, as people call it, and just speak to the camera. Very raw and, it doesn't require editing. That's what people like. Okay, you can easily use green screens, which are also quite good. Post up a picture and put your face in front of the screen and just talk, okay? You can even do a talking head, which is very popular as well. It includes editing and captions, however. Or you can easily do B-roll voiceovers, so it's basically a script and a voiceover. If you can get this cycle into place, that's when you're essentially going to complete step 1 and 2. Then you want to become the expert. Do this by providing free value, like I've said time and time again. For example, talk about how you made a life transition, broke to rich, fat to ripped, right? And this is essentially the framework that you can use, and it works wonders. For example, I went from blank to blank in time frame, okay? I went from broke to rich in 90 days. You can start an Instagram series, which people are actually going to be intrigued on, and they're going to follow your journey along the way with that. But that's just an example, of course. And here are the 3 steps that I took: life lessons, mistakes I made, tips, and steps I took. So for example, point 1, point 2, point 3, once you get that in place, then you basically speak your call to action, okay? And this is essentially the content funnel that you want to also follow. So once again, like I said before, short form content, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Reels, and LinkedIn, right? Long form content assets, YouTube, right? Then more down the funnel, you provide a bunch of free value and training, okay? After that, people are going to start opting in to book more calls with you, okay? And that is exactly how I'm able to book 34 meetings a week consistently. Now, I'm also going to link this Notion content planner template in the description below, but this is essentially if you want to plan your content throughout the week, for example, okay? And yeah, of course, with YouTube as well, you want to have 1 to 2 to maybe 3 quality value videos every 2 weeks on YouTube, or even weekly. Weekly would be better, like 2-3 a week for YouTube is perfect, okay? And after all this is put into place, then there's no doubt that you shouldn't be on lock with everything, right? If you and your appointment setter are following this whole process and you've got the content on lock, okay, there's no doubt that you're going to be generating tons and tons of leads. And essentially, if everything goes to place and if everything is done correctly, then you can easily be booking around 34 calls a week and consistently landing payments like 3.6K, 3K, 1.9K, of course. And this is exactly how I turn strangers into high-paying clients. And it's so simple. You just copy this exact framework and blueprint that I've gave out and implement the action into your business.